Have you ever found yourself adding another task to an already full plate, thinking it's going to help you get ahead? Maybe signing up for a course, taking on a new project, or committing to another obligation. I recently did that, and within hours, I felt completely overwhelmed. It got me thinking, why do we so often reach for addition as a solution while viewing subtraction as a step backward? It's a surprisingly common pattern, and it speaks to a deeper tendency in how we approach well-being and progress. Researchers have identified a cognitive tendency called additive bias. Essentially, it's our ingrained inclination to solve problems by adding something new, rather than taking things away. When faced with friction or a challenge, our first instinct is to introduce a tool, a rule, a system, another layer to the existing complexity. We rarely stop to consider what we could remove. This isn't a sign of poor thinking, it's a mental shortcut. Adding feels like taking action, like making progress. Subtraction, on the other hand, can feel like loss. Studies in behavioral economics, pioneered by thinkers like Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky, have shown that losses actually register more strongly in our minds than gains. So naturally, we shy away from subtraction, even when it might be the most effective solution. But additive bias isn't just about our individual psychology. We live in a culture that relentlessly equates growth with expansion. Think about it. More credentials, more output, more platforms, more optimization. Even the pursuit of well-being has become framed as a project of accumulation. Adding mindfulness practices, self-care routines, or productivity hacks. If we're feeling strained, the advice is often to add another method. If we feel uncertain, add a certification. If we feel behind, add another commitment. The underlying assumption is that more inputs will eventually and inevitably lead to better outcomes. However, human capacity isn't infinite. Every addition draws from our finite resources, our time, our attention, our energy, and even our sleep. Gains in one area can quietly create deficits in others. These trade-offs are often invisible when we're making the decision because we're focused on the promise of improvement. Subtraction, by contrast, doesn't offer that narrative of advancement. It doesn't expand our identity. It simply reduces our load. And in a culture obsessed with expansion, that reduction can easily feel like failure. This pattern of accumulation isn't limited to individuals. It happens in institutions as well. Think about organizations that accumulate policies and regulations. New rules are added to address emerging problems, but rarely are old ones removed when those problems are solved. Bureaucracies expand, not necessarily through intentional inefficiency, but because addition feels responsible. This complexity builds layer upon layer. And the same logic applies to our personal lives. We accumulate roles, goals, subscriptions, and obligations. We add without pruning. Over time, this can lead to a loss of coherence. Improvement becomes indistinguishable from simply more. Withdrawing from that course I mentioned earlier wasn't a dramatic act. It didn't require explanation or justification. It simply removed a layer that wasn't serving me. The relief I felt was significant, and it revealed a crucial insight. Subtraction restores proportion. True growth doesn't always require expansion. Sometimes it requires the discipline of refusal. In a culture that rewards visible accumulation, choosing not to add can feel counterintuitive. But often, clarity doesn't emerge from introducing another improvement. It emerges from removing something that's no longer aligned with our best interests. Simplicity isn't regression. It's the discipline of coherence in a world that often confuses expansion with genuine progress. It's about making space for what truly matters by consciously letting go of what doesn't. So how do we break free from this add more reflex? We have to practice a different definition of success, not by what we pile onto our lives, but by what we remove with intention. That starts with questioning things we usually treat as automatic. Commitments, possessions, habits, subscriptions, even certain routines that once made sense but no longer do. Subtractive thinking shows up in ordinary places, simplifying your schedule, decluttering your space, streamlining your digital life, quietly reducing the number of open loops your mind is forced to track. And here's the key. Before you add a new solution, pause long enough to run one question first. Is this truly going to improve my life? Or is it just one more layer added to the clutter? One way to make subtraction feel more natural is to build it into your default process. Start with a subtract first mindset. When you feel friction, don't immediately go shopping for a new method. Look at what's already there. Are you doing the same thing in two places? Are there redundancies? Is there something you're maintaining out of guilt, habit, or pure momentum? Next, make reviews normal, not in a perfectionistic way, just a recurring pruning habit, a weekly scan of your to-do list, a monthly inbox clean-out, a seasonal sweep through your home or your digital files. These reviews aren't about becoming super minimalistic. They're about preventing life from becoming an unexamined pile. And finally, apply a little 80-20 realism. Most of our results come from only a small fraction of our actions. If you can identify the few things that consistently pay off for you, the high-impact habits, responsibilities, and relationships, you can protect them. And when you protect them, you naturally start letting the low return obligations fall away. That's what I didn't see fully until I withdrew from that course. It wasn't a failure, it was a correction. And maybe that's the reframing. Subtraction isn't giving up. It's choosing coherence over accumulation. It's trading more for enough, and discovering that enough often feels like relief, and sometimes it even feels like freedom. Thanks for taking some time to join me here today. If these thoughts connect and you find them useful, you'll find more like this at Quiet Frontier. It's where I share reflections on mind, meaning, purpose, and connection. There's a link in the description. Thanks again for watching. Take good care.
There's not much difference day to day. No time to stop and pray to my God. Won't you grant me some relief? Obligations and ordeals, my heart it barely feels, my soul go dry like a wind-blown autumn leaf.